So good morning everyone, welcome to the morning after show, the morning after the night before. Before I start, I've added a few more subscribers. So if anyone else who is watching this who hasn't subscribed, please press subscribe. Even if you don't watch my videos again, or you only watch one or two, please press subscribe. If you agree with what I'm about to say, or anything I said before, or disagree, please let me know, comment, share it. I'm going to start posting on some Newcastle Facebook groups to sort of push it out there. But yeah, any support is appreciated, even if you tell me that I'm doing shit. Right, so morning after show. As I said, the morning after the night before. Newcastle United 1, Watford 1. Yet another game that has ran away on us. Yet another 3 points we've let slip through our fingers. Watford had some very good spells in the game, don't get me wrong. It was a competitive match, but that game was ours to lose. That game was ours to win. You know, it was in our hands. We let that one slip, unfortunately. So let's have a look at the lineup to start with. There's not a lot about the lineup I could argue with. I was very surprised Dummett was starting. Paul Dummett was starting. Don't get me wrong, he's on his day. He's one of my favourite Newcastle players. I love the heart and desire he shows, and he's a solid defender. But after being out for so long through an injury, I assumed that he would be on the bench, and then came on later into the game. You know, especially as we had Jamal Lewis on the bench. Matt Ritchie as well. But so we had Martin Dubravka, Paul Dummett, Fabian Schär, Jamal Lascelles, Kieran Trippier. That completes our back five. We had a three-man midfield, which was made up of Sean Longstaff, Joe Linton and John Shelvey, and then a front three of Alan Saint-Maximin, the debutant Chris Wood, and of course Ryan Fraser. Now, I quite like that system, although we've said for a season and a half now that 4-2-3-1 is the system that suits us with the players we've signed. You know, your likes of Saint-Maximin, Fraser, Miggy Almiron and Willock. I mean, I would argue that Almiron's sort of out of that equation now, but Chris Wood brings a different dynamic. I think it suited him to have people up alongside him that he can sort of feed, as opposed to being that sole man up front and, you know, with a lot of players behind him. So like I said, the starting lineup, there's not a lot I would have done differently, really. I thought the signing of Chris Wood was going to be very, very good for Joe Willock, but then again, it was Chris Wood's first game, so I'm sure, you know, relationships, partnerships will develop. But yeah, not a lot I could argue with, really. Like I said, apart from the fact that Paul Dummett started, I assumed he'd be better off the bench. But saying that, Paul Dummett didn't do too bad. Let's have a look then. Dubravka didn't really have an awful lot to do, to be honest. You know, Watford, they didn't have that many chances, particularly in the first half. And those chances they had, that they spooned them, or it was, you know, like a last-ditch tackle. But he made a couple of good saves, a couple of smart saves, particularly late on in the game. He was very enthusiastic. You know, crosses were coming in, and apart from the one cross that mattered, crosses were coming in, and he was plucking them out the air, and he was driving the team forward. You know, screaming at people to get up the pitch. Good to see. It was one of his better games with the ball at his feet as well. So that was good to see. I think it helps so much for Dubravka having players who are very comfortable on the ball playing in that defence. I mean, we all know Fabian Schär is a ball playing centre back. Paul Dummett, I would say less so, but he never panics on the ball. Sometimes he's more than happy to take a touch, get out of his feet and lump it up the pitch, as opposed to Fabian Schär will pick out a man. But that's okay, you know, he doesn't shy away from it. Jamal Lascelles, I'll get onto him in a minute. But Kieran Trippier, what a difference. What I thought he was, there were two players who really stood out for us in that Watford game. And Kieran Trippier was very good. He had a constant battle with, was it João Pedro, their left wing, who ended up scoring. You know, there was some fiery words exchanged. He made some cracking tackles, particularly in that second half. Got the ball into Chris Wood quite a lot. We'll get onto the service to Chris Wood in a minute. But what a difference he met having that player with that experience and composure in that back line to take the ball off the goalkeeper, because Emil Kraft never looked comfortable receiving the ball. Avian Manquillo, I'm a big fan of his, although he's probably lost his place now for the rest of his Newcastle career. Big fan of his. He's diligent, he's a hard worker, but again, not fantastic on the ball. So you've got Dubravka, who's nervous on the ball anyway. Then he looks up and he sees other guys who are nervous on the ball, and then it's, yeah. Like I said, I'll get to Jamal Lascelles in a minute. But the midfield, I thought Joe Linton didn't have his best game of the lofty standards he set for himself recently, but he was still good. I thought Jonjo Shelvey was, I don't really know. There's a lot of switches, a lot of, he pressed well, he put a lot of effort in, but he just couldn't sort of find people. Now, he benefits from having a striker who's willing to run, and there's a lot of lateral movement, you know, left to right down the channels, like a Dwight Gale or a Callum Wilson. Now, Chris Wood doesn't do that, but that's something they're just going to have to get used to. You know, he is our striker. He is going to be our target man for the next however long. So that's up to the players to adapt to him. Now, the other man who I thought had his best game for a long time was Sean Longstaff. I thought he competed very well in the midfield. Chalk and cheese to what he was like against Cambridge. Against Cambridge, he was lackadaisical. He didn't always look up. You know, he's very, very casual in possession. Very sort of, well, you know, like I said, lackadaisical and sort of pedestrian. Whereas in yesterday's game, very good. He pressed, he made tackles, he made strong tackles, he made runs in beyond. He was mainly in that sort of, on the right hand side of that midfield three, so he would run them beyond to give Trippier and Fraser another option to create diversions for Chris Wood, and I thought he was very, very good. Front three now, Ryan Fraser, he was okay. You can see that there's a relationship, that there's an understanding between him and Trippier, which is developing. You know, a couple of times they were on exactly the right wavelength and it really worked, and a couple of times they both went for the same ball or something like that. But there's something there. There's something there which is encouraging. I would have liked him to see him get more crosses into the box. A lot of our long balls were aimed at Ryan Fraser, which is mad, because he's a perfectly capable football player, don't get me wrong, but he's like 5'6" or something. But he put effort in, and you can't fault his work rate. I think he was brought off for Jacob Murphy, which at the time I questioned. I would have taken ASM off there and then, because you could tell he was something wasn't right. He'd been knocked a few times. You know, this is when we were 1-0 up, and he just wasn't pressing with the same enthusiasm, whereas Ryan Fraser was. So I would have put Jacob Murphy on for Anson Maximin, or Almiron in that left wing role. So let's go for Alan Saint-Maximin now. Frustrating performance. First half, not up to his usual standards, shall we say. Now, their right back played very well against him, but it's the classic ASM of every time he gets the ball, he wants to run at people. Now, he does seem to be improving a little bit. We had that period in the second half just after we scored where we completely controlled the game, and we should have put the game to bed, really. But he does pass a bit more, but even so, it's fucking frustrating. You know, he gets the ball, he tries to take the same man on all the time. Doesn't work. But he can come alive, and that goal was fantastic. You know, he chased down, reminds me a little bit of the goal against Southampton, the last game before the lockdown, where we beat them 1-0 at St Mary's. I know, Newcastle winning games. It sounds mad, doesn't it? And this is largely the same players, really. But yeah, fantastic. He chased down the left back made the right back made a mistake. But ASM, he slipped himself. He had to recover. He drifted inside, and the only place he could have smashed the ball was where he did. You know, in between the two defenders. You could perhaps question the goalkeeper's positioning. But then again, he was unsighted because ASM had shot with such accuracy and precision. After that, he got smashed a few times, which you can't complain, because if we were up against Alistair Maximin, we'd do exactly the same. And he just faded a little bit. He gave the ball away a couple of times. He wasn't chasing down with the same energy. I saw online this morning, I believe, wouldn't have been Twitter, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but on Facebook or Instagram, saying that Alistair Maximin plays like Gabriel Obertan for 89 minutes and Leo Messi for 1 minute. He needs to be more consistent. You know, his performances have dipped somewhat since Steve Bruce left, and it's noticeable that he was the only player to give Steve Bruce a public thank you. Now, Steve Bruce signed him. Steve Bruce brought him to the best league in the world, so perhaps that's got something to do with it. But I don't know. He's much better than he's playing at the moment. But he himself identified after the game that we need better players around him, which is fair enough. You know, he needs help, but he doesn't help himself sometimes. Chris Wood. I've seen a lot of people online giving him stick, saying it was shit, it was this, it was that. I thought he was okay. You know, completely new team, completely new way of playing. He's been at Burnley for what, 4 or 5 years. You know, it was his debut. It was a debut in for a new, obviously a new team. You know, a debut in such a pressure environment of a team that's only won once all season, that is desperate for the points at home. Massive stadium. You know, I thought he was all right. Okay, he had one chance really. We had a couple of headers, but he had one chance really where he could have just smashed it on his left foot. And we've seen all Newcastle fans the last week or so have been caning YouTube to see what Chris Wood's really capable of. And he's more than capable of smashing that in the bottom corner of his left foot. He wanted to come inside on his right to make sure. Can you blame him for that on his debut? No, but that chance went begging. He won us valuable fouls up the pitch, got the team up the pitch, made it stick. He wasn't as mobile as, say, a Callum Wilson, but we knew that. So all in all, I thought Chris Wood did all right. He didn't light the place up, but he's not that sort of player. And in fairness, we had Kieran Trippier in particular. There was a lot of balls around the corner aimed at Chris Wood on the edge of the box, but there wasn't a lot of what you'd call proper crosses from the byline for him to attack, really. You know, we got the ball into the box a lot more, but not many proper whipped, what you call a Beckham cross, you know, into that 6-yard box, into that danger area that made the goalkeeper and the defenders panic. So yeah, like I said, in the first half we hit the post. I think Lascelles might have come close with a header. Cher came close with a header. We've had a few chances, you know. But right, so let's get to the nitty-gritty. Unfortunately, our captain Jamal Lascelles, he's cost us yet again. Now, I've done a Lascelles themed video before I think it was the season before last, or it might have been early last season. And he's on his day, he's my favourite Newcastle defender, because he's an old school defender. He's clearly got the correct attitude. He's clearly got the right mentality. Clearly got leadership style, leadership qualities, but he's not good. He's costing us. I'm sorry, Jamal. I really, really want you to succeed. I'd like nothing more than for Jamal Lascelles and Sven Botman, if he comes, or Diego Carlos if he comes, to strike up a banging partnership. I'd like nothing more than to see Jamal Lascelles retain his place in this team and the captain's armband under the new regime going forward and challenge him for FA Cups and such. But he ain't good enough. I'm sorry. I feel like a knob saying that because, you know, who am I? It's all very well for me to say sat in the car. But he's not very good with the ball at his feet. He gives the ball away a lot. His passing's not good enough. His position is not good enough. He switches off at crucial times. Now, I've looked it back, and I know on commentary they said there's nothing he could do. I've looked back at it. That was Cher's man coming across, right? But if players are making runs across you, you communicate. Jamal saw him come in. Jamal didn't get off the ground. Now, Jamal is more than capable of heading that ball out or putting some... You know, this guy's a winger. He's a spindly little Neymar wannabe. You know, not exactly Andy Carroll challenging you for a header. So he should have done better there. He really should have done better. Like I said, he's given the ball away at stupid times. He looks nervous. When he's given the ball anywhere near our goal, you know that he's just going to give it to the nearest person possible or just hoof it upfield. And the opposition, as soon as Jamal gets the ball, they're on him because they know that he's going to cock it up. Changing the captain mid-season, I think Jamal would have the mental fortitude and just the all-round humility and good character to go, do you know what? Yeah, I'm going to focus on my own game. Give someone else the captaincy. And I think he could cope with it because I'm sure he is a solid fucking character. However, at our current state, 21 points we've dropped from winning positions, 1 game won, 19th in the Premier League. He's not good enough to be our centre-back. Where's Federico Fernandez? Obviously, paper talk. Diego Carlos apparently is stunned at the offer that we've given him. I would take it in a good way. Sevilla want €42 million now. Lille want closer to 50 for Sven Botman. I watched the extended highlights of some of Botman's games, and he has been very, very good recently. I said he looks like a defender who's got a penalty in him, but he's been very, very good. Diego Carlos, very, very good. Look, we're going to have to pay over the odds anyway because teams know we've got the money. That's why Lille and Sevilla are squeezing us now. They know that we've got the money. They're not going to take our first offer. So if we got this bottomless pit of cash and we know we're going to have to pay over the odds anyway, let's just get it done. If Lille say, oh, we want 50 million for Sven Botman, right, 60 million offer. If Sevilla say we want 42.5 for Diego Carlos, there's your 50 million offer. Let's break transfer records. Let's throw money at the situation because although us going down to the Championship isn't the end of the world and it just puts us back 12 months, there's players who aren't going to hang around and then we're going to have to go through the recruitment again. It's better to stay in the Premier League, in my humble opinion. What a frustration that was. We were in such a commanding position, then we just gave up like a squirrel running back to a tree with our nuts and just thought, oh, we'll just defend this lead. I can understand to a certain extent because we've only won 1 game. We're in such a commanding position in the 86th minute and you think, oh, just see it out, just see it out. But Watford were there for the taking. Craig Cathcart was even worse than Jamal Lascelles. You know, we had that 10-minute period of dominance after we scored where we should have put the game to bed. You know, we have free kick after free kick, good positions. We're just not... And then we just tailed off. Miggy Almiron comes on and gives the ball away, and then loses his man, who ends up putting the crossing for the goal. It's not good enough, man. I keep thinking one more game. You know, a lot of people saying, oh, that's it, now we're relegated. I'm not going to say that yet. But we've got, like I said, we've got some favourable fixtures coming up. Leeds, Southampton, managerless Everton. West Ham, not so much. Villa, not so much. But if we don't beat 2 out of 3, Leeds, Southampton and Everton, we're done. There are improvements. We're playing better football. Much better football. People want about Rafa. Rafa would have had us 30% possession yesterday. we were the dominant side. Joelinton hit the bar in the first 5 minutes. That goes in. We probably win 2 or 3-0. There are positive improvements. Sean Longstaff was better. Kieran Trippier is an instant favourite. Ryan Fraser's getting better. Joelinton's maintaining. Paul Dummett's back. Who do we play the next game? I doubt we're going to have a defender in. Assuming we don't have a defender ready to play for the next game, I think you play Dummett in centre-back alongside Fabian Schär. I really do. You can't... It's time to drop Jim Lascelles, because you can't say, oh, right, I'll give you one more chance, because we cannot afford that. If we were, say, where Everton are, you think, right, we'll give him one more chance to get out of this bad slump. But if we don't win our next game... If Burnley beat Watford and Norwich win again, and Leeds are a sort of a relegation, yeah, but we haven't got the points or the time to persevere with Jamal. I'm sorry, mate. I think he's a cracking player, and I'm sure he's a solid guy. But for his own sake, take him at the team. Let him take a bit of pressure off him. Anyway, I'm off. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on Friday for Friday Reflections. It's been a while. It's going to be another week of non-stop gossip and transfer rumours. I'll bring you what I know. I'll bring you what I think. Please engage in the debate. See you later.